Hey, this is Brittany Wagner with Last Chance U, and you're listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports.
SportsRadioDetroit.com.
We don't need TV to entertain us. He said enough.
You actually have to contribute.
Wow. You're welcome.
Just send a couple tweets, Dave.
You know what?
Get the job done.
You know what, guys? You're welcome for every guest ever.
Darren McCarty will be joining us to talk about, I don't know, what the fuck ever. If Mickey Redmond hadn't chosen hockey as his profession, he would undoubtedly be a lumberjack.
True. Absolutely true. Or he would have played one on TV.
I must have been bombed.
You were very bombed.
Because I don't remember that at all.
Was she a good sport about it? Did she enjoy your antics?
Yeah, she giggled a little bit.
Yeah, and she's a nice gal.
Oh, yeah. Welcome. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. Another two-man crew this evening. David Faze, myself, Dan Griffin. Mike Tripp was a little sleepy after a hard day's work at the brewery today. Couldn't make it.
Do you think he just, fell into one of the tanks, got sloshed?
That'd be nice. It'd be a good day at work. Yeah, that'd be a good day at work, in my opinion.
I mean, you fall into a vat like the Joker, but you just turn into Beer Man.
I think Mike might already be that guy.
Your superpower is you don't get drunk.
Oh, God, that would suck. That's half the fun.
Yeah, it's true.
We are invading your ear hole, as always, on Apple Podcasts, SportsRadioDetroit.com, wherever the hell you listen to podcasts, and please go to SportsRadioDetroit.com. Lots of other fantastic content. It's not all about us, and Roger's doing a great job of spreading the type of media that we put out there. Doing some pop culture stuff now, some movie stuff. I'm dumping stuff all over the table, so it's not all about the sports anymore. Expanding our horizons here at Sports Radio Detroit, so you can go check out all of that excellent content at SportsRadioDetroit.com. Getting a little bit of a late start tonight. I had to watch the end of the Stones game.
Well, I showed up late, too.
You did.
Which, though, is it late or is it on time for me?
It's. I mean, when you said you were going to be here at almost 9 o'clock, and then it was like 9:10, I'm looking at my watch that's not really on my wrist going, where the fuck are you, Dave? And then we got caught watching the Stones beat the Celtics on the road at the TD Garden. And I was just talking to Dave and I were just talking before the show started, and about how the Pistons still haven't really been getting that national coverage. Maybe this is the win.
Well, I mean the early indications based on my my current Twitter timeline, my Twitter feed. The game's been over for about 5-6 minutes. At this point, and everything I've seen so far, granted, I mean, I do follow a lot of local people, too, so there's obviously a lot of local spin on it as well, but the national media guys that I do follow in regards to the NBA and basketball in general are giving a lot of love to the Pistons being, I think this might finally be that win, which, I mean, I think there was a couple before this, too, that should have made people perk up a little bit, but this might finally be that win.
Just form a fucking wall!
That has people looking at the Pistons and going, all right, they're not screwing around. They're a legit basketball team, especially when one Andre Drummond goes out and has a game like he had tonight. That's what you paid him for.
That's the thing. That's been the difference. I honestly think. Remember how we said it was about a year ago. I think we decided that Andre Drummond truly does listen to this show. Remember, because I was talking about his shoulder hair last year.
He shaved that
shit. And he shaved it the day after the show. Yeah. He shaved it, and then now he's listening to me pick on him a little bit over the offseason, over the last couple of seasons. He picks up the show again. Maybe he took some time off. I don't know what happened. And he decided to get his shit together.
By the way, small tangent, but did I ever tell you about the time that I had a Pistons game on? Kristen's in the kitchen. You know how my house is set up. You can see the TV from the kitchen area.
Uh-huh.
And Kristen thought that there was something wrong with the TV for a minute because she didn't realize his shoulders were that hairy. And I was like, no, it's just his shoulder hair. She was like, oh.
Did she want to braid it?
She just thought it was really weird that a grown man who is in the public eye, and especially a grown man who wears a jersey that clearly shows off the shoulders, wouldn't want to get rid of that. But clearly, he listened and decided that he did want to be the guy that had clean shoulders.
Yeah.
But anyway,
I'm good to go now.
Anyway.
I'm good to go, man. Shit.
Small tangent, like I said. But yes, there's two things. First of all, Andre, to me, like you said, is absolutely the biggest key. But the other one, the two guys that were looked at 2 years ago as being the cornerstones of what the Pistons were going to try to do moving forward were Andre Drummond and obviously Reggie Jackson. You have Andre playing at all-star level, and you have Reggie back to being what Reggie was a couple years ago. And the thing is, some of the numbers that Reggie's putting up, if you look from night to night, don't look as outlandish. I mean, he had some games a couple years ago that were just like, this guy's, he's all-star caliber, the way he was playing. I mean, he was the guy that was leading the comebacks in the fourth quarter, and he was doing all those things. The difference is this
actual
team,
audio from Reggie Jackson.
Call me sir, God damn it!
Sir Darian Thomas, or Sir Darian Adams was the guy, right? From MSU. Given name, by the way, I don't know if anybody knows this, but Sir Darian was his given name on his birth certificate because his family was not pretentious at all. Anyway, but the difference with this team is that
scandalous.
Reggie's playing really well and playing within himself. He doesn't have to be this guy that goes out and puts up freakish numbers for them to be a good team because they're just such a more well-rounded group now. That's the difference.
Look, I'll tell you one thing. It's getting to the point now, after beating Boston on the road, you've now beaten Boston on the road. You've beaten Golden State on the road. You've got an excellent record against the Western Conference. There's nothing I can do. I can't sit here, this show's ultimate skeptic or whatever the hell you want to say about me. I don't care. Doesn't bother me any. But I don't have anything bad to say. I think it's exciting. I think it's fun. And I think, if this continues to Christmas, to the start of the new year, and the Pistons are sitting in a top 3 spot in the East, yeah, I think it's very, very okay to get excited.
I was put it this way.
I wouldn't get too excited just yet, but the 14 diehard Piston fans out there here in Detroit, you want to get excited? I'm not going to hate you for it.
Tonight was game number 19, right? The Pistons are as of the end of the game tonight are now 13-6 on the year. We'll obviously look to make it 14-6 in a couple of days. I believe they play Phoenix. I want to say I'd have to look it up. Who is obviously not a very good team. If that is in fact the game, that should be an easy win as long as the Pistons don't play down to competition. Which I think for the most part, that's one thing they actually have avoided this year. They've had
Piston fans up on your feet!
They've had some slow starts, but I wouldn't necessarily call it that they've played down to different competition because they've had slow starts against good teams and slow starts against bad teams. I don't think that's so much playing down to competition. The playing down to competition nights are the nights where they don't show up for an entire game against a team like Phoenix, which is not a good basketball team.
The one thing you hope doesn't happen, like you got this magic going on right now, right? And it does, like, let's be honest, it does seem a little bit like magic because this isn't. I don't think there's anybody that can say that they're not somewhat surprised. Like, who saw, Andre Drummond's game taking a 180-degree turn in one offseason? I don't think anybody saw that coming. And I think most people thought, Avery Bradley would add something to the team. He'd add some leadership. He'd add some defense. Not usually a guy that you're going to turn to be a leading scorer on most teams.
Well, and he's not.
Right. But it seemed like when Avery was brought in, maybe you were going to need him to be that guy. He hasn't needed to be that guy. He's been as advertised. Andre Drummond's turning his game around. Reggie Jackson isn't playing hero ball anymore. It's been kind of a perfect storm for the Pistons to start the season. How much longer can it go on? Can it go on the rest of the season? I suppose it could. Am I going to be surprised if it doesn't? No. But what I don't want to see is I don't want to see this team, finish top 2-3 in the East, have that magical season, and then, get railroaded in the playoffs. I think that'd be a remarkable disappointment.
Well, it would be. I mean, again, we talk about this all the time, that expectations change, and absolutely.
And a 7-game series is much different than a regular season.
It is. especially when the biggest difference is you're beating each other up, for 48 minutes, seven games in a row, and that takes a toll on the body. But
settle down.
The thing that I would say about the potential of what they've been doing carrying through, I don't even say a majority of the season. I won't even say the whole season, because I feel like every team throughout the year, I think the Pistons obviously have already had one of them so far, and it was that Cleveland game, which it was a back-to-back game, and Cleveland was super well rested, and it was a perfect storm. And do you like to see a 30-point loss? No. But am I really going to chalk it up to the Pistons are that much worse than the Cavs? Absolutely not. Those things happen throughout an NBA season. It's not a big deal. However,
it was the Cavs versus the process tonight.
Yeah. I do think that the reason that I actually have hope that what the Pistons are doing is sustainable is that none of the things that they're putting up, none of the numbers they're putting up are so far off the charts. Are a few things going to fall back a little bit to the mean? Sure. Do I think that Tobias Harris is going to remain a 45 or 46, whatever he's at, percent three-point shooter? No, but even if he falls back a bit, he could wind up at 40%, and that's a hell of a year, and he'll take that all day long. Avery Bradley, I don't think his numbers are going to really alter all that much. He's basically doing what he's done his whole career. Reggie is back to being what Reggie was 2 years ago. Andre, the difference with Andre that is so incredible is, I talked about this on the show. I can't remember if it was when we had Chapman on or shortly before, but when Stan Van Gundy went on with Valeni right after the Pistons moved.
Hey, it's Jake Chapman from Pistons.com.
Yep. Right after the Pistons made the official announcement they were going back to 97-1, and Stan Van went in studio with Mike Valeni and was on for it was 15 to 20 minutes. I don't remember exactly how long the interview was, but there was a conversation in that bit, or in that 15, 20 minutes, where Valeni didn't hold back, as I wouldn't expect him to. That's not his MO, and I actually love that he didn't, because Stan Van's the perfect guy to not hold back against, because it ain't going to hurt his feelings. He's going to answer honestly. And he made the comment about that he was talking about how much Andre's free throws affected so many other parts of his game, because the confidence level was so far down, and he was so much more tentative around the hoop because he
didn't want to get fouled.
He didn't want to get fouled, so he would take fall away, kind of fall away hooks, or he didn't want to play into contact, because if he got fouled, he just automatically, if he wasn't going to make his shots.
Doesn't that just show
so it makes a huge difference.
Doesn't that just show you how important free throws really are?
Yeah.
We know how important free throws are down the stretch, right? You get salt a game away, you got to make your free throws, yada, yada, yada. But the way Andre's played the game just goes to show you how important just free throws in general really are. Making free throws alone has made Andre Drummond a brand new basketball player.
Yeah, it's systemic. Even to the point that he looks so much more engaged in the game from start to finish, and a big part of that is because he can be on the floor for the finish, and he doesn't have to sulk that he's getting taken out of a game because he can't hit his free throws and they're going to play half of Drummond. Everything about the free throw situation has changed his game.
I don't know how much of it is the free throws themselves. I don't know how much of it is has Andre had some sort of epiphany and some sort of attitude shift, because that's been my other thing about Andre. He's had a bad attitude his entire career. He was a pouter. He was a whiner. He didn't play well. He got taken out of a game. He didn't make enough free throws. And you could see it. You could see it in his body language. I think there was a game early in the year. It was maybe the first, second, or third game of the year. I think I pointed it out on the show. Andre was very pouty. He was very whiny. And it looked like it was going to start all over again. And then I don't know what happened, but the guy, I don't know if he took some Valium, maybe some Xanax, got it going. Got enough sleep at night? I don't know.
Well,
but whatever it is, his attitude appears to be different. And if it stays like this Andre Drummond that we're seeing is everything I've ever wanted to see out of Andre Drummond. He doesn't need to be any better than he is right now for me to be absolutely satisfied with Andre Drummond.
Yeah,
I'll take 20 and 20 out of him every night.
Well, that's an easy statement to make. I concur. No, but
well, good night, everybody.
No, but what's funny is there was this conversation or this bit about I shouldn't say this bit. This little bit of news that came out over the offseason about how Andre had this surgery on his nose, right, to fix his, I guess it was deviated septum or something.
That's what did it?
I'm not trying to be funny.
Now he can breathe.
Everybody. I was kind of initially
he laid off the coke,
poo-pooing the fact that would make a huge difference. But I guess when you're exerting the amount of the level of energy and the conditioning level that you have to play at that level of basketball.
Actual audio from Andre Drummond after the deviated septum surgery.
I'm good to go now. I'm good to go, man. Shit.
I can understand how that could make a big difference. And I don't think that that's the entirety of what's happening, but I think that along with the free throw fixing and just certain things, and like I said, maybe just a bit of an attitude change, I think there's just a cumulative effect from all of those factors that have led to Andre really, like you said, becoming a different player. He is absolutely as he should be with all of his physical tools. He's an absolutely elite center in the NBA right now, and there's not a whole lot of those left. And which is another reason why with what he should have been, why you needed him to be an elite center, because there's not a lot of those guys in the NBA. And when you have one, you expect him to excel, and he hadn't. So yeah, I couldn't agree more. This is the Andre Drummond the Pistons have always hoped he could be, and this is the Andre Drummond they paid him to be.
I'll tell you what. I'm getting to a point where I'm getting pretty excited. Like, I'm getting a little hard. I'm getting kind of a boner because the Red Wings are terrible. The Lions are exactly what we thought they were.
Hey, if it ended if the season ended today, the Red Wings would be in the playoffs.
Woo!
And they call that a 1-year streak.
We are not breaking down the Red Wings season right now.
That was not part of the plan.
Not even going to come close to happening.
Not part of the plan.
We didn't intend to start the show with the Pistons,
but then they had a big win.
But then they had a nice win.
Yeah,
another one.
Yep.
And how many times can I sit here and go, well, it's early. Well, it's early. Well, it is still November. All right, get me to Christmas, and I'll start throwing on my Piston gear. Get me to Christmas. That's all I want. Get me to Christmas. Hey, because that's when the NBA season starts.
Dan, do you like stats? You like fun stats?
I sure do.
I got a fun one for you.
Do I?
Yeah, I got a fun one for you. The Celtics have lost one game this year by double digits. You know which game that is?
Would that be tonight's game?
That would be tonight.
Against the Detroit Pistons?
The Pistons, yeah.
At home.
And you can say what you want about the Pistons adding some points to the free throw line at the end. But
hey,
guess what?
Andre hit a couple big ones.
Yes, he did. Guess what? You got to be in position where they have to follow you to make those free throws, and you got to make the free throws. And the Pistons did both of those things. So I don't think those are cheap points at all. That's part of the business of winning ball games.
I was the shit back in the day.
When you're leading and you play good defense and you stop a team from coming back, it forces them to follow you, right? That's the way basketball works. But you got to hit the free throws, and the Pistons did that.
You don't say.
I mean, it's breaking it down for you, baby. Break it down. Just basketball 101 right there.
I'm a little excited. Just give me to Christmas. That's all I ask. We're not that far away now.
I see a lot
give me to Christmas.
I see a lot of I'm not trying to build it up to anything else than what it is, but I see a lot of sustainable things going on with the Pistons right now. And they're balanced, and that's one of the biggest kind of blanket statements you can make is just how much more balanced and the depth that they have this year that they just didn't have last year. And Ish Smith might be Stan Van Gundy's best free agent signing. As funny as that sounds, he's been exactly what this team needs. I mean, he is a perfect second unit point guard.
What's funny is by metric, Ish Smith was awful before coming to Detroit. By metric.
Well, he was being asked to do more things than he should be doing.
I guess.
Here he's being asked to do exactly what he should be.
But metrics rarely lie. In Ish's case, it seems like they may have.
Stan Van has, in fairness though, to finish this off, Stan Van has had a pretty good history in the NBA with point guards. I mean, who would Jameer Nelson have been in the NBA without Stan Van Gundy? I argue not hardly anybody probably. Stan Van's done a very good job of nurturing point guards and turning them into better players. Look what he did with Brandon Jennings when he came over. Brandon Jennings had kind of a career renaissance and then got hurt and just was never going to be able to be the same player again. And then he goes down, and who comes up? DJ Augustine, who's been a very good backup for a long time. He comes out and plays like a fucking all-star. And you're going like, what is this team doing that all of a sudden every point guard they put in there is playing at all-star level? I think Stan Van has a lot to do with that.
That means if luck runs out with Ish or Reggie, there's a guy he can go out and get and revamp his career. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Dellavedova.
I was gonna say Bob Sura.
This is not how we wanted to start the show, but we did anyway.
Well, we can move on.
Stones were a big win.
Stan and the Stones had a big win, and we were excited about it. We want to talk about it.
Sounds like an awesome name for a band.
Stan and the Stones. Yeah, I think it'd be like a kind of like a grunge band.
If Stan Van Gundy started a band,
Stan and the Stones,
he'd be like Tony Clifton out there.
you know,
he kind of looks like Tony Clifton.
You know what their first album title would be, right?
I'm afraid to ask.
The Wall.
God damn it. Why did that make me laugh? That shouldn't have made me laugh.
Yes, it should have.
You're rubbing off on me.
The Wall.
We wanted to start the show, well, at least the way I originally wanted to start the show. I'm glad we started it the way that we did because it's far more happy.
I don't know that this is going to be unhappy.
Dave, we have a situation.
It's not unhappy. It's just there's some indifference going on.
No, we have a situation.
All right.
At Sports Radio Detroit.
All right.
A crisis, if you will, within the SRD family.
An intervention might be necessary.
And this is where we were going to start the show because we need, as a Sports Radio Detroit family, we need to stick together. We cannot allow these situations and these crises to take place within our own. All right? I have been involved here in a little bit of a confrontation.
A tiff, if you will.
With one of the co-owners of our fine network here, Sports Radio Detroit, and it's not Roger. He told me I could use his name, so I'm going to use his name. Our co-owner, Ben Zalagi. I don't know what happened, but for some reason, Ben's got a little bit of a problem with me. Now is me coming on the show and talking this stuff, does that mean I'm challenging the establishment? All right. Challenging the man. But Ben became very, very, very upset with me over the weekend after the debacle in Ann Arbor that took place. Because Ben is an ardent Michigan fan, right? And it's fine, he went there, right? He's a big time fan. Loves Jim Harbaugh. Now, I'm the kind of guy that's kind of challenged Jim a little bit, haven't I? I'm not satisfied.
Were you challenged to say that?
I was a little bit. I mean, it was the bourbon we had before the show.
The bourbon. But it was such good bourbon, though.
But Ben comes on social media, and he makes a sweeping comment on social media about how the coaching staff put Michigan in the best position to win, and it was all the players' fault for losing to Ohio State. Now, my response to that was, okay, sure, but last I checked, the chef picks the ingredients. Am I wrong there?
No.
Does the chef not pick the ingredients? Are these not Jim's guys?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, yes, Ben's point is well taken. Players got to go out and execute, and they didn't do that on Saturday. But looking back at it, did we expect them to? I don't think any of us did, and therein lies the problem. The fact that we didn't expect them to execute. Now, Ben thought that was a bit of a stretch, that I said the chef picks the ingredients. But I'm kind of putting the whole thing together, right? I'm kind of putting the whole 3-year tenure of Jim Harbaugh into one basket. Because at the high-profile program that Michigan and Michigan fans claim that they are, what have you done for me in the last 20 years as a program?
The last 20 years, you won one national championship.
And exactly 20 years ago, you've done that.
I mean,
coming up here on January 1st.
You asked and I answered. That was it.
Now, you had a shot in 06 with Lloyd's last year there. Lost a tough one to Ohio State. Great run. Great season that year. Now we're getting into the last decade. What have you done for me? And the answer is nothing. And Jim Harbaugh comes in, and he's supposed to be this Messiah, right? This football Jesus. Highest paid coach in all the land.
There was some umbrage taken with that statement, too.
Oh, the Messiah statement? I mean, come on.
Whatever. Just continue, please.
I thought the same thing. I think Jim Harbaugh's the perfect guy. He's football Jesus. Bring him in here. Let's get it done. 3 years later, this guy has shown me nothing. He's given me nothing. Now, Ben's point is be patient, and I understand that. I get it. But my point is, coaches in these high-profile positions don't get 4, 5, 6 years to compete for a conference championship. We're not even talking about a natty right now. We're talking about competing for a conference championship.
That's where it starts.
Now, last year, they were right there and came up a J.T. Barrett helmet width away from getting to Indianapolis. That's fair. I got you. But it's just another big game that Jim Harbaugh has lost. He has not won a single game of note in his 3 years at Michigan. Now, Ben brought up Wisconsin last year, which, okay, I'll give that one to you, unless of course you're a person like me that thinks Wisconsin is basically always a fraud, this year included. But all right, I'll let you have that one. He's got one.
Well, they went out and won the Rose Bowl last year, didn't they?
Yeah, but
I mean, I think that's a decent win.
I mean, I guess, but you still were worse than Ohio State. You still were worse than Penn State last year. You know, you were what were you, the third best team in the Big Ten if you're Wisconsin?
Well, who? Well,
no, didn't they play Western? They played Western in the Cotton Bowl, didn't they?
Oh, the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah.
Who played in the Rose Bowl?
The Penn State.
Penn State,
played in the
USC.
Rose Bowl.
Penn State, USC.
That's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the point here.
I still think, although in fairness, going back to my original point, regardless of that it was the Cotton Bowl, I still think that's a good win because Western was a really good program last year. Western had legit NFL talent on the roster.
All right, if your marquee win in the last decade was a win against Western Michigan,
I don't think that's their marquee win, but
the whole point was this: Ben and I disagreed, and that's fine. That happens. But the issue that I took with it was you don't make a sweeping comment on social media, an opinionated comment, without expecting to be challenged on your opinion. You can still have your opinion. That's fine. I've got mine. You've got yours. But if you don't want to be challenged, don't put it on social media. Keep it in your head. Because this is what we do here, isn't it? This is what we do at Sports Radio Detroit. It's controversy. It's fun. We argue. We debate. We break balls. It's what we do. I try to engage in that with Mr. Zalagi, and he wasn't having it.
Correct.
Tells me I'm insufferable. Gives me some rolly-eyed emojis. Talk to me, Ben. Just talk to me. We're buddies. We're family. We're friends. We're brothers. What's the problem? But he didn't want to engage. So I have to offer an open olive branch to Mr. Ben Zalagi to come on this show anytime you would like. Talk Michigan football. We can have this out. I'll go on one of his shows. I don't care. We've got to come together as a network, David Faze. We cannot be infighting.
Well, don't bring the whole network into this, okay?
Oh, we're all in it together. We are in this together. This is a fight. This is a battle.
Man, you just roped an awful big group into this one-on-one debate that's happening.
We are a family, David Faze. Everybody needs to be involved.
Although I joined in, so.
How do we conquer the world of sports media if we are fighting amongst ourselves, Ben? This is my peace offering to you.
I don't know. Then you just become undisputed. And you make a bunch of money.
I mean, Ben and I, we're both single guys. We should be out there. I'm going to let the hook go. That's right. I thought this was the perfect song. Ben, I miss you. I love you. We're all friends here. We're all brothers in arms. How do we conquer the world of sports media with the infighting amongst ourselves? Ben and I are both single guys. We should be out there trolling for hookers together. Not battling over trivial things. We need to band together and lead this great network to become the dominating force we know it can be. Run with me, Ben. United we stand. Divided we get pushed aside by less talented three-letter sports podcast networks.
I mean, he set an awfully low bar with the hooker thing. I'm just saying, but you know, everything else was great.
What will it be, Ben? Can we still be friends? I'm getting emotional.
Harbaugh should be challenged. It's the only point. It's the only point that's being made here. That's it. Can't be content with what's happened. Can't be.
I don't know if that was the best song or if I should have played this one from the start. I go back to December all the time. When Ben and I were friends.
It was a year ago?
And it's gotten ugly. Oh, man. Ben, this is my olive branch to you. We can have it out. We can agree to disagree. I just don't want it to be personal. I don't want it to be hard. And I want us to be united. On a united front. To take over the world of sports media. I'm confident that we can do it together, but not divided. We cannot do it. We got to take a break. I love you, Ben Zalagi. You've been listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. For David Faze, myself, Dan Griffin, sportsradiodetroit.com. United we stand. Don't go away.
This is Darren McCarty, four-time Stanley Cup champion, Detroit Red Wings, Lemieux killer, Stanley Cup winning goal guy. You're listening to sportsradiodetroit.com.
We're pretty much ready to go here with this podcast.
What the hell is a podcast?
I saw a man brought to life.
Ah, yes. Song is just another peace offering to Ben. That's right. Welcome back. Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. David Faze, myself, Dan Griffin, invading your ear hole as always on the newly unified sportsradiodetroit.com. Apple Podcasts, wherever the hell you listen to podcasts.
You're gonna get us kicked right off the air, Dan.
I came off Spotify, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. We came back to this song. I don't remember why.
I don't know, because you were talking about Natalie Imbruglia being just deliciously attractive.
Just being gorgeous when this video was dropped.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody can deny that. No, what I wondered was, how in the hell did she just fall off the face of the earth? She had everything that you needed to be a successful pop star in America. She had a decent voice. Decent voice. Not great. It's pretty good. She was gorgeous. That's all you needed to be a pop star in America in the 90s. That's it. Mm-hmm. Maybe she was too talented. I don't know.
This show's not making it.
Then I started looking up like what she's doing now. I don't know. I got caught down on Natalie Imbruglia Wormhole. By the way, that's going to be the name of the episode. Natalie Imbruglia Wormhole.
Or just Natalie Imbruglia's Wormhole.
I mean, that'd be nice. No, because we were looking at pictures. Like, she still looks incredible. And she just bought a $1.3 million house somewhere in Australia. Like, where did the money come from?
Man,
like,
those royalties from Torn are still coming in.
This song is not that popular. Like, you don't hear this on the oldie station just yet, do you? I mean, the lyrics are stupid as hell, but she's got an okay voice, and she had blue eyes. She was Australian.
Sorry,
gorgeous.
Spotify. Apologize.
We can play it if we talk over it.
Are you sure about that?
Yes,
that seems
I am.
like a weird rule.
Yes, I am.
All right. Like, what if we play it at, like, normal level and we just yell over it? Does that count? I don't want to try it.
Just beat the rule. Just get around the rules.
It's just aggravating to do that.
It's like a...
I mean, why do you think There's two reasons why I've gotten so good at, over the course of time, about not... there's always exceptions, but not talking over or getting affected by the drops when you play drops to try to throw me off.
You guys talk over drops all the time.
Yeah, I do. It's two things.
It's not professional.
One, I'm a professional who doesn't get rattled by the drops you play to try to screw me up. And also, to talk over the drops sometimes. I farted on a church retreat. Yeah, I did. To talk over the drops sometimes, just be an aggravatingly loud level of voice to use that I don't want to do. I think you were trying to play a drum.
Thanks a lot, Bin Laden.
I was. Yeah. It didn't come out.
Yeah, I could.
God, everything goes wrong.
Just click. We can
never do a straight through perfect show, can we? So there's got to be something. Better equipment.
Hey, by the way, I got one. I know we didn't plan to come back to talk about this, but I just had to throw this stat at you too, or stat at you as well. God, where the hell did it go? I just had it.
Like 98% of men would still bang Natalie Imbruglia. Was that your stat?
Well, that's probably it too. I mean, I'm sure that's a real stat.
I didn't look how old she is. I got to do that. I don't care. She's got to be in her 40s. Doesn't matter. But I'll wait. I'll wait for your stat.
I'm gonna find the stat. It was literally in front of me like 2 seconds ago. It's here. I know I'm gonna find it. There it is. Got it. You literally played it as I found it. So just one last fun stat specifically about tonight's game for the Pistons, and even more specifically about Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond is the first visiting player with at least 25 points, 20 rebounds, and 5 assists in Boston since one NBA Hall of Famer, Wilt Chamberlain, in 1967.
Send Andre to the Hall of Fame.
That's not what I was implying. I was just trying to, through statistics, verify once again that it was a great game for Andre.
Piston fans, up on your feet!
For Andre and the Pistons. They did well.
That's not where I wanted to start this segment.
That was not where we're starting. Go ahead.
It is already 7 after 11 p.m., and we are I feel like we're just getting started.
Do we get free Slurpees for that, by the way? I mean, that was just free product placement right there.
It shouldn't have been nearly as hilarious to me as it was, but of course.
Yes!
What was funnier, that or Stan and the Stones with their album called The Wall?
I had a theme for today's show, and then the Pistons did weird things in Boston, and things happened with Ben, and now we're, an hour and some odd minutes. That's not true. We're like 40-something minutes into the show. Maybe not even. I don't know. I'm not looking at the time right now. That's what we need. We need a timer so the show can operate better. But my theme for the show that we're finally getting to, it's one word, Dave.
Yeah.
It's the word trajectory. Do you have any idea why that is?
Yeah. I mean, I do because you told me, but...
Oh, okay.
But for the sake of the argument, no, I have no idea.
Trajectory has to do with both Jim Harbaugh's career and the Detroit Lions organization as a whole. Where would you like to start, Dave?
Wherever you like.
We'll start in one spot, and then we'll do fourth and medium, and then we'll get to the other one.
All right.
Just a quick show meeting on the air.
Some of these conversations are not show meetings until you say, hey, that was a show meeting, and then you make it a show meeting.
That's fine.
Now I've said show meeting 3 times. Is that like Bloody Mary?
What are you, high or something?
Just spitballing over here.
We'll start with the Lions.
All right.
And why the word trajectory applies. Every single fucking time that this organization has a game that can change its trajectory for the better, do you know what they do? I don't think you need to answer that question. I'll answer it for you, Dave. They fucking lose. Every single time.
Wait, we're talking about the Lions, right?
Yes.
I think the word you were actually looking for was rectal thermometer.
I mean, we did just get past Thanksgiving, so you're probably right.
It checks your pulse, not your pulse, your temperature. I don't know why I said pulse. I wish it checked your pulse, because if it did, if in regards to the Lions, I would be dead. No, but it checks your temperature, and it's very invasive to your butthole. That's pretty much what the Lions are.
I like it. I like that comparison.
Just saying. Heat check.
Every single time, Dave. I'm going back and I'm scouring through the Lions files in my brain. Right? I wasn't like taking to the internet. I'm just going through memories.
It's a dangerous quadrant right there.
I'm going through memories, right? Since I'm a little kid watching Barry Sanders run the ball. I'm looking for memories where the Lions have won that game that just completely boosts them and their trajectory toward greatness.
Haven't done it.
Toward even being good. You know how many games I came up with?
I don't know, 3, 2.
I came up with one game.
Okay, I overshot it with 2.
Because 1991 doesn't count. I was 3 years old. I barely remember anything. I don't think I remember anything from when I was 3.
I don't know. Barry was pretty good. You probably remember him just because he's Barry.
I'm thinking more like 95.
All
right, that's fair, because they won the division title in 93. So I'm looking back through my memories, and I found one football game, that I can look at and go, that changed the Lions' trajectory. Do you have any idea what that game was? I'm going to let you try and guess this one.
I haven't a clue.
I don't think you'll get it.
I haven't a clue.
Christmas Eve, 2011, against the San Diego Chargers. The Detroit, I had the privilege of being at that game. The Detroit Lions wiped the floor with the San Diego Chargers to clinch their first playoff berth.
Former.
San Diego, no, they're always the San Diego Chargers. At the time, they were the San Diego Chargers. Doesn't matter. But in that game, the Lions won and clinched their first playoff berth since before I had pubic hair. And that was that step that they took that made me go, wow, this is nice. They can finally do something. That's how bad they were up until that point. That hasn't happened again since. Do you realize that, Dave?
Yeah.
You could say, they got to win in Lambeau. I'm going to challenge you on that one.
I wouldn't say it changed it. No, I agree, because I don't think that changed the trajectory.
That's the only other one that I could think of that somebody might argue.
I think it just helped. God, how do I want to put this? I think it helped to a certain degree change the persona. I think I would use that, not trajectory. I don't think it necessarily changed the course of the franchise. I just think it helped change. And more, to be honest with you, I think more so even for the players and the people within the organization than it did for the fans, to be quite frank with you, in regards to the Lambeau
The point
game.
is, Dave, that Thursday, I legitimately believe was one of those games.
That could have done it.
Yeah, that could have changed this organization's entire trajectory.
Yeah, so could last year, Week 17, have done that too.
But what happened?
They come out and lay a goddamn egg, which was, unfortunately, because of the trajectory of this team, it was completely predictable. We talked about it on Thursday.
But do you
Monday.
But now as we look back, and you guys have challenged me on the way I view this team with regards to its history, these are the type of games that just reassure me of that opinion. Until you win a game like Thursday that has the opportunity to change its trajectory. Because do you realize, 2011 was 6 years ago now?
Mm-hmm.
Are we going to have to wait over half a decade every time or more every time this franchise changes its trajectory? Because that's just the way that it looks. I understand. Anything can happen next year. Of course. Anything can happen on any given year. And when it finally happens, I'll fucking shut up. But until then, is it not understandable that I look at this team and I allow their history to sway my opinion on almost everything? Is it still irrational?
No, I wouldn't use the word irrational.
Because I wasn't going to kill you if you said yes. I was just going to accept it.
I wouldn't use the word irrational. I still, as I know, obviously, we know that Jeff would be fighting tooth and nail right now. I'm still closer to Jeff's side in the sense that I try to look at things. I don't even want to say year to year. I mean, I'll try to say game to game. I think I try to look year to year, but regardless, it's semantics. I try not to couple things in with what has already happened. And what I mean by that is I completely understand where people with your viewpoint have basis for that viewpoint. I get it. I do. I'm not naive to it. I know what the Lions are. I know what they've been. I get it. But I'm trying to be, and if you want to call it an optimistic viewpoint, fine. I'm not sitting here trying to make claim the Lions all of a sudden are some great football team. That's not what I'm trying to do here. But I would say that kind of to Jeff's point he was making last Monday, I look at that game, and as terribly as the Lions played for at least the first half of that game, they played a little better in the second half. Obviously didn't come up with what they needed, but I agree with Jeff that when you look at the gameplay, I don't think the Lions are I don't think it's as simple as saying the Lions are clearly a worse football team than the Vikings. The Vikings have been on an incredible run. They're very balanced. They're very well coached. All of those things are true, and all of those things make a big difference on your football team. I don't think the Lions are that far, but the problem is, and this is where it comes back to everything, to the same old bullshit, the problem is, even with that said, and I 100% agree with the statement I just made, the problem is...
I hope so. You said it.
The problem is that they don't find those little moments, those little things within a game that, and we know this, you say it all the time on this show, regardless of what team we're talking about, that the NFL very rarely has blowout games just because of the nature of the business.
Everybody's mediocre.
Yeah.
Why can't the Lions ever be at the high end of that mediocre?
And they just don't find those moments. Look, you can say all you want about Matthew Stafford's ability to win games in the fourth quarter over the course of his career so far, and it's all valid, and that's all well and good, and that's fun, whatever. But twice, I would say this wholeheartedly. Last year at Lambeau, last year against the Packers at Ford Field in Week 17, and Thursday in the Thanksgiving Day game against the Vikings. Two games that for sure could have changed the fortunes of your season. The Lions as a whole, including Matthew Stafford, and I'm a Stafford fan. I like Stafford, but I try to call things like I see it. And in both of those games, and I understand that at the end of the game, he got hurt, blah, blah, blah. Stafford didn't do enough. He didn't. The whole team didn't. But when you're a guy that's the highest paid player in the league for your position, or for the entire league, and again, I know it's going to change eventually here with the next offseason, but you got to do more. You got to find ways, and he didn't find ways, and unfortunately, whatever you want to say about Case Keenum, and I still think that the water will find its level with him to a certain degree.
He looked like an all-pro on Sunday.
He was the better quarterback on Sunday, or on Thursday, sorry.
Yeah, Thursday. But let's go back to 3 weeks ago. I took some shit, I believe, from Jeff, not so much you, about looking at the way that the Lions played against a bad Packer team that almost knocked off Pittsburgh last night, and a bad Browns team, and applied it to Thursday's game. You get down 10-0 in both of those games against those bad teams. This is where I believe in body of work. What happened on Thursday? You got down 13-0 early again. And ultimately, that's what lost you the game.
Yeah, they're not starting. They're not showing up. They're not showing up for the first 15 to 18 minutes of a ball game. And that's terrible.
So yes, I
That's terrible.
applied the body of work against the Packers and against the Browns and applied it to this game. And the Lions could have done one of two things. Either they stick to that body of work and prove me right, which they did, or they turn it around and every game's a new game and prove Jeff right, which they didn't on this particular occasion. And I'm not happy about that.
I will be curious to hear what Jeff has to say now after that game has now been completed, because he sat here last week and we talked about everything the Lions have done, what the opportunity they had in front of them with this football game, and what it could mean. And he said that this was going to be the game that for him was going to be the major barometer of what this team was going to be moving forward. And if that's his viewpoint, I don't think there's any way that he can legitimately look at us in the face. And I've been more on Jeff's side than yours for the majority, but I don't think there's any way he can look at it and look at us and say that he's pleased and say that this team does, even if they make it to the playoffs, that they deserve to be there, because at this rate they don't.
I mean, and that's what it is. Maybe you squeak in as a wild card, and then what happens? What have we already seen?
I would like to say depending on who they play, but I don't think it matters. They'll probably get bombed.
You get bombed. I mean, even if you don't get bombed on the scoreboard, we know that happens. You don't get bombed on the scoreboard, but you get bombed on the field.
Most NFL games, when you really go back and look at the tape, unless it's a legit blowout, which is very few of them.
It's like the playoff game in 2011 against the Saints, where it was super close at halftime, and the Saints never punted.
Most football games over the course of a season, give or take a few, because obviously there are those rare absolute blowouts that do happen, and those are the ones that you go, holy shit, because it doesn't happen in the NFL very much. But for the majority, most of those games, you can look at, and you know which team controlled the gameplay. Even if a score is like 27-22 or whatever it might be, you're gonna go, whoever that team with 27 was, you're like, that team controlled the game. The losing team made it close at the end because that's just the nature of the game of football. There's a little bit of relaxation as you get closer to the end, and there's just a lot of nuances, but the team that won clearly won the game.
I'm going to tell you, when the Lions finally win that game to win a division, or win that playoff game, maybe it won't be in my lifetime. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, you really can't say that you do.
No, I don't.
But when they finally win that game, honestly, my jaw is going to hit the floor.
You know what's interesting too? I as you say that,
just that one game. We're not even talking about it winning a championship. We're talking about winning a game that clinches a division, or a game that or a playoff game.
You know what I think is funny?
That's so sad.
I was thinking about this the other day. We often talk in sports. Like let's look at. I'll use a recent example. So you look at like Michigan State football this year, right? They lost that game to Northwestern in overtime. The next week, they had to come out and play Penn State, okay, which a game they wound up winning. But one of the narratives for that game, actually for both teams, because that was the week Penn State was coming off of the loss to Ohio State, so they're both coming off tough losses. And the one of the narratives is, how are the teams going to respond? What team is going to show up, right? That's usually a conversation you have after a loss.
Yeah,
right?
I would agree.
I would actually put that conversation if and when the Lions win that game you're talking about, I would use that phrase to describe the Lions after that win. how do they respond to actually winning? If and when that happens, how do they respond to actually winning a game that they historically as a franchise don't win? What happens?
It's just so sad because I am damn near 30 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only team that I've ever rooted for that I've legitimately never seen win anything. Anything.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I've even seen... I finally saw the Red Sox win a championship. I've seen the Raiders play in a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've seen Pistons championships, Red Wings championships. We've seen the Tigers in the World Series.
Seen the Tigers be really good for quite a long time. Yeah.
Michigan's won a national championship. Michigan basketball's been to a national championship.
And another Elite Eight, right? Was it
yeah. And I mean, plus the Fab Five, but that was when I was really little kid.
Yeah.
But the Lions have just literally never won anything. And I'm almost 30 years old. No division championships, no playoff games. Forget winning a Super Bowl. And I get looked at, not just, and it's not, this isn't a shot at you and Jeff, but people do look at fans like me and go, you're crazy. And I look back at them and go, no, you're crazy. Any year, something can happen to them, right? For them. Any year, they can finally win it next year. That's their feeling. And I'm going, they're never going to win anything. They're going to have to show me something for me to think that they're going to ever win anything. And I'm crazy.
Well,
I don't get it.
I'll say this. I think, and I'll admit this wholeheartedly, there was absolutely a time, God, probably even when we first started this show back in the Mornings with Microphones days, that I was still one of those kind of go through the motions, stick to my guns, happy-go-lucky, optimistic Lions fans, right?
Oh, we know.
I'm not
Delightful Dave.
I'm not that guy anymore. I haven't come, and I've had conversations. We've talked about this on the show at times where I've, you could tell that the wind was shifting a bit. I haven't fully gone over.
This is a therapy session right now.
I haven't fully gone over to the dark side where you're at or where you've been for a while, but I think I'm at a point. I think I actually reached this point last year, to be honest. But I'm at a point now where I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid anymore. I'm not. But what I try to do, my optimism, I guess, is I try to look at things as objectively as I can. Like I said, on a year-to-year, game-to-game basis, I try to not loop things into a historical conversation. That's what I still will not do. But outside of that, I think I've reached a point where I'm pretty realistic about what the team is. And you know what? The funny thing is, it doesn't really even hurt. It doesn't hurt. It's kind of matter of fact at this point. I know what I mean.
You can be kicked in the nuts a million times, Dave, but you can only be castrated once.
This is true. This is true. God, that would be frightening if that were possible to happen more than once, right? If that were physically possible, that would be just a terrible life to live.
I certainly wouldn't be able to hook up with Natalie Imbruglia anymore.
I got caught between terrible and horrific. I almost said terrific, which was not the word I was looking for at all. But I almost did it. It's like a terrible autocorrect.
Oh my God!
But anyway, but yeah, to kind of tie it up a little bit. Look, yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with you. I mean, this was absolutely an opportunity for the Lions to do something that the Lions typically do not do, which is to win that game. That finally makes not only the local fans but the national media go, "Hey, look at the Lions! Look, they won a big game. That's a huge game. They kept themselves alive in the hunt for the NFC North playoff race. All of those things, and they didn't do it. They did not do what they needed to do.
Again,
it's that simple. And the bad part that you can loop into history is the fact that game's result was unfortunately too predictable. You wanted to hope, but you can't. You just can't do it.
That's a fact.
Thank you, Jim.
And these
criticism doesn't bother us.
And first and foremost, of the Lions as they stand now, the critical thing for them moving forward for the rest of the year, this not showing up for the first, like I said, 15 to 18 minutes of a game, it's got to stop. You can't win games that way. Can't do it. I know Jeff made the claim.
You can't lose games in the NFL and still win, Dave.
Thanks, Trent Dilfer. How does he have a job anyway? But Jeff was making a comment last week when we were talking about the slow starts against Chicago and against Cleveland, and he said you don't lose games in the first quarter.
And Green Bay.
Well,
no, Green Bay was a pretty hot start.
I can understand your point in saying that, but at the same time, I kind of feel like you kind of can, because it just kind of sets a tone. It's not so much that a 10-0 lead in the first quarter is insurmountable, because it's not. It's just a matter of the way
it is insurmountable when you play a good team.
The fact that the way it affects your psyche, and just like I said, the tone that it sets for the game is just not good. It's just not good. So,
Vikings are good.
Disappointing.
You're bad. They have a third-string quarterback. Their all-rookie running back was hurt, and they still are far better than you are. I think. You disagree, that's fine. But they held the Rams to 7 points last week, and they made you their bitch on your home field on Thanksgiving Day.
Well, the weird thing is the group that I think for them is most impressive is obviously the defensive side of the ball, right? And I don't think the defense, in my opinion, I don't think the Vikings defense shut out the Lions. Now, it's easy to say when they put up 23 points, so it's not a shutout, obviously, in literal terms. But I don't think the defense shut the Lions out. The Lions were able to move against them a bit and were able to put up some points. Not, big thanks to Marvin Jones, unbelievable catch that he made.
The defense is all right.
But they're just, I think what makes the Vikings so good right now is they are just so, to me, they're an incredibly well-balanced football team.
Look, the defense definitely hasn't been a problem.
For who, the Vikings? Or for
no,
the Lions?
For the Lions.
No,
but
the defense was all right.
Here's the thing. I mean, there are a couple of things. Like, first of all, you're not getting to the passer. Now, having Ziggy back at least kind of helped them get a little bit of a push.
I would have loved to have Dwight Freeney in there. I'm not going to lie to you. I think it honestly would have helped. I really do. I understand why they didn't play him, but I think it would have helped, which is kind of scary. That's not a slight at Dwight at all. That's a slight at the lack of pass rush effectiveness for the Lions this year.
Because Dwight Freeney's going to be out there in a wheelchair. But that was an old joke, not an injured joke.
Oh, I got it. Actually, if it were an injured joke, that actually may have been more offensive.
But here's the other thing. Like, we've given a lot of praise to Jared Davis, and I think the guy's got a lot of upside. But these last 4 weeks have not been good for Jared Davis. Jared Davis, and maybe even longer than that, Jared Davis, of 3 down middle linebackers in the league, is ranked 27th against the run. Is graded out as 27th against the run. He's getting a lot of tackles. A lot of those tackles are downfield, though. I mean, you got torched by Chicago and Cleveland and Minnesota again on the ground. And Jared Davis is a big part of that. Make no mistake. And you got Tease Tabor with this sacked the guy that was next to Case Keenum for some reason. I guess he was seeing double that on Thursday. That was the play. That was the play that ended the game.
No, the play that ended the game was the rush up the middle by DJ Hayden, where he ran free, and all Case Keenum did was just step to the side.
That was Tease Tabor.
Are you sure?
Yes, it was.
Okay, I have to go back and look. I thought it was Hayden.
The reason you thought it was DJ Hayden is because the guy that was on the field that made that play or didn't make that play was fast as hell. I don't know what it was about Tease's game speed on that particular play, but he was in there in a hurry and too fast. You didn't think Tease Steelmore could run that fast, did you? Neither did I. He just whiffed. Oh, man.
He's like Icarus. He just got too close to the sun.
Oh, career trajectory. Or, I'm sorry, franchise trajectory. We'll get into career trajectory. After we do, fourth and medium. What was that?
Kane is in the building.
Do the girls get to play?
I thought you kicked something.
Not balls.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
We couldn't do diddly poo offensively.
We've got to be the dumbest team in America.
What's the matter with you, boy? You too stupid to do what your coach tells you?
It's time for fourth and medium. Because fourth and long would be too cliche. Listen closely. You might learn something.
Oh, yeah. Mike's not here, so that means, Dave, you should have a pretty good week.
I mean, I could still go over 4, technically. So.
Fourth and medium.
And I can't play the odds either because I can't just go against what Mike says.
A game we play every Monday where generally Mike and Dave try to guess my opinion. Mike's not here today, so it's up to you, Dave. You got to be a hero. We start as we always do. On first down, Dave, Tyrod Taylor was back under center in Buffalo this week after his inexplicable benching for Nathan Peterman, who, by the way, threw 5 interceptions in one half.
I know, is that good?
It's not that good. However, Sean McDermott is failing to commit to Taylor for the remainder of the season. Davis, there's something funny going on in Buffalo, or is McDermott just a moron?
Wow, that almost seems like a loaded question.
Is there something fishy, strange going on in Buffalo, or is McDermott just an idiot?
Well, I think McDermott's actually done a decent job up to this point this year. Other than this is probably, and rightfully so. I mean, it's a big decision, big move. You know, the quarterback position in the NFL is always so scrutinized in every way, shape, or form. It's always going to be a big hot topic. So I'm gonna go on a limb here because I think McDermott overall has shown a propensity for actually making some good moves. And also just because of my own viewpoint of the situation and what I thought as this all started going down, I think there's something weird based mainly on the fact that I feel like even with the conversation about the quarterback position as it's gone on the last couple of weeks, like you said, with him being unwilling to commit, it just seems like there's some evasiveness going on with the questioning. Like he doesn't want to even face the questions, is trying to just move past it as much as he can. I just feel like there's something weird. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor rubbed somebody the wrong way in the organization and there was a mandate that he's give him a short leash or whatever that you might say, but I gotta think it's more than just Sean McDermott not knowing what he's doing.
Well, I think
you think that Sean McDermott is fine and that it's something fishy going on.
There definitely seems to be something weird going on here. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Tyrod Taylor's an asshole in the locker room. I don't know if he's pushing Sean McDermott's buttons. I don't know what it is. But I got to believe that Sean McDermott knew that Nathan Peterman wasn't going to be any better than Tyrod Taylor. I don't know what he's trying to prove. You know, it's almost like a reverse Jay Gruden situation with RG3, where Jay Gruden almost seemed to put RG3 in the game to prove that he sucks.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit of both, but no, I think Sean McDermott's done an okay job, and I don't think that Tyrod Taylor is some sort of Pro Bowl quarterback, but he's not terrible, and he's, certainly better than Nathan Peterman, and Tyrod Taylor, historically throughout his career, doesn't put up gaudy numbers, but he takes pretty good care of the ball. So this is weird. I think there's something fishy going on.
You know the other thing that was really strange was following that Peterman game last week. I believe it was in the post-game press stuff. And there was a lot of questions being asked about Peterman, rightfully so, and about what happened, what was going on with him, why did he start, all that stuff. I mean, this guy gets done throwing 5 picks in a game, and Sean McDermott is saying, well, I'm sure there's a few throws you'd like to have back, but he also made some really good throws, too. Dude, I got to tell you, there is not a shot in hell that there is ever a game where a guy throws 5 picks where the guy made good plays. It's not possible. It's not possible.
If he did, he didn't make nearly enough of them to make up for that shit.
I mean, if he made good plays, that would have to have been the most crazy pass-heavy game in the history of the game, and he would have had to throw like 5 touchdowns to his 5 interceptions. Otherwise, there's no way you can make that claim and have it be true.
I don't know, man. We go to second down. Dave, the Miami Hurricanes had a letdown against the Nardog and Pitt this last Saturday and fell to number 7 in the playoff rankings with a matchup against number 1 Clemson on Saturday for the ACC Championship. Is there a path back to the playoff for the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, but it's long. First of all, the easiest part is they got to beat Clemson, clearly. They also need Auburn to lose the SEC title game. And they probably need Oklahoma to lose the Big 12 title game as well. Lots of ifs. Lots of ifs. So the question was, is there a path back? Yeah, but the odds are really long. Very, very long. So this might sound weird to say, but I'm actually going to go on a limb by saying that you also believe that, mainly because there's a very easy way that you could say no, there's not, because the odds are so long. But I'm going to say that yes, to answer your question, yes, there is a path back, but it's very unlikely.
Dave, not only is there a path back, but I think there's actually a slightly easier one than even the one you just described. I don't think they need Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Auburn to all lose.
I didn't even say Wisconsin because I don't think that one's even going to matter. Oddly enough, I just don't think it's going to make a big play difference in how they.
They need 2 out of those 3 to lose, no doubt about that. But if they beat Clemson, let's say Oklahoma wins, Wisconsin loses, and Auburn loses.
Mm-hmm.
That puts Georgia leapfrogging Alabama to likely we'll say number 2. Because Oklahoma moves to 1. Clemson falls out. Georgia's number 2. Wisconsin loses to Ohio State. Miami jumps to number 3. And Alabama gets that number 4 spot. There's a path. I mean, you got to beat Clemson first. I mean, I'm a Canes fan this year. I don't know if you've noticed. They've been 4th and medium a lot.
Me too. I like them, but and maybe this is being stupid to count them out, but I expect Clemson to win that game. But doesn't mean Miami can't win.
Miami's just that team that hangs in there, man.
They've been doing a lot of good things.
They had a letdown. You had to see that coming with the way they played football this year, but Cardiac kids, man. They're playing against everybody. We move to third down. Dave, the Cowboys are now 0-3 without Zeke Elliott. Dak looks awful without Zeke Elliott. Cowboys are 5-6 with things not looking so hot. Is it time to end the Jason Garrett era in Dallas?
Yes. It's pretty simple. If you're a owner like Jerry Jones who demands winning, you've had, in my opinion, in Garrett's tenure, you've had 2 pretty damn good seasons. Last year was very good with Dak, and I want to say it was 2014, the year they beat the Lions in the playoffs,
and they got robbed.
Yes.
By a bad call.
That was
after the Lions got robbed by a bad call.
That was a very good football team and a very good year for the Cowboys that year as well. Other than that, can you really look at any other years? And he's been there, what is this, year 7 or 8? Somewhere in that range. I don't remember exactly how many years he's been there.
I think it's more than that.
Is it that long?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if you look at his overall record, yeah, the record itself looks decent, but it's a bit of a mirage. How good are the wins, and how effective have those seasons really been? And I would say not great. So, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're Jerry Jones and your goal is to win championships, which it's got to be, there's no way you can look. And I'm not saying that 100% that it's going to happen, because more often than not, things that I think should happen don't happen. But if you're putting if the smart money is to say that Jason Garrett should get canned because he's had way longer of a leash than he should have, and he hasn't really done a whole lot with it. So, he faced a little bit of adversity this year. Clearly, the team hasn't been up to snuff and performed well and responded to that adversity. And so, yeah, I don't see any reason why you shouldn't end the Jason Garrett era.
He's a slightly better version of Jeff Fisher without the Super Bowl appearance.
Yeah.
That's what Jason Garrett is. So not only do I think it should be over, I think it finally will be. I think it's time. Move along! I'm not even saying he won't get another job. He might.
Probably will.
He's still relatively young. We move to fourth down, Dave. Oh, this Greg Schiano story. Greg Schiano all but put pen to paper to become Tennessee's next head football coach. That is until protests erupted in Knoxville due to Schiano's connection with Jerry Sandusky's Penn State teams. Tennessee backed out of the deal at basically the 11th hour. Fair or foul by Tennessee, Dave?
Oh, totally foul. That's a terrible look. You cannot tell me that it is. I don't even know what word I want to use. Let me go back. It is irresponsible as a organization, as a university, making this type of move for some backlash. And I don't even disagree with the backlash. I didn't like the hire either. But that doesn't give you a right to back out on an agreement with somebody because some fans start talking and say that they think it's a bad hire. That just tells me that AD, I think his name's John Curry, is soft as shit. And probably should not be making the types of decisions that he apparently is responsible for making and making these hires. You can't do that, man. You got to have a backbone, and that tells me you don't have a backbone. And if that's the case, you shouldn't be an AD for a major university, major sports university. Can't do it. Can't do it.
I do think it's foul, but not for the reasons you mentioned. The reason I think it's foul is because I don't think that Greg Schiano ever should have been offered this job in the first place. So it's foul because it took you until the 11th hour and it took you until there were protests to realize what you're potentially bringing in with Greg Schiano. Now, they said that they went through everything, Mike McQueary's testimony, all that garbage, and they still offered him the job. Well, if you read Mike McQueary's testimony about other coaches that had seen, I should say, Jerry Sandusky diddling little boys, then you should know you never should have made the hire in the first place. Because Mike McQueary's testimony states, in plain English, that Greg Schiano went to Tom Bradley, one of the other Penn State assistants at the time, in the early 90s, white as a ghost, talking about what he had seen Sandusky doing to a little boy. So Mike McQuarrie's testimony names Schiano by name. Now, whether or not that story's true is irrelevant. You should know what's coming if you had actually read the testimony. So the fact that you even offered him the job in the first place is the problem. And in fact, what did you say his name was? Curry? Tim Curry, is there?
John, I believe John Curry, I believe is his name.
Tim Curry's
or maybe
rating?
it's Curry, I'm not sure.
Oh, yeah, he's on the hot seat. According to Deadspin, like, this is, like, serious. He may be gone. He may not be there.
Well, I mean, the culture that
very, very soon.
The culture that was created under Butch Jones was not very good either. Then that was obviously current at University of Tennessee. So there's a lot of bad things. That program is not in good shape right now. And the latest that I've heard is that they are reaching out at this point now specifically to people with, and I don't even necessarily have any names right now, but specifically to people with ties to the university, because unless you have any, sweat invested in that university, nobody wants to touch the job with a 10-foot pole right now, because for multiple reasons, but the Schiano situation that they created for themselves has left a really bad mark. And
Dude,
it's gonna be really tough to dig out of.
It's a terrible head coaching job.
It doesn't have to be.
But here's the thing with Tennessee. Tennessee has been that, like, honestly, Tennessee and Michigan have been a lot alike over the past at least decade. They're always that team that's, this is going to be it. They're finally going to turn around. Here's the coach. Here's the guy. This is it. They're finally going to get it going again. The only difference is I think Michigan has a little bit better brand and is more likely to turn it around. But as far as on the football season, on the football field, over the last whatever it is years, Georgia was kind of the same way. Maybe you go out and win 10 games one year. But you're not going to win anything.
You're
not going to win any type of championship with that.
Watch Brady Hoke get the full-time gig because nobody wants it.
Oh, he's the interim, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. That would be that'd be a hoot. They'll still be ranked in the preseason top 10 next year.
Dude, I didn't even,
they always are.
I didn't even know he even had any type of major position still in the game until everything came out when Butch Jones got fired and they said Brady Hoke's going to be the interim coach. I'm going like, where the hell was he? Not knowing he was the D coordinator there.
Is he going to wear a headset?
Like, oh my god, I didn't watch. He coached 2 games. I didn't even watch to know if he wore a headset or not. With the way that organization is, or that I keep saying organization. I mean, it is kind of to a certain extent, but the way that program is run right now, I don't know if it fucking matters if he wore a headset or not.
He's just going to take a nap. He's going to have a brownie and take a nap on a sideline.
It's not good.
Get out there and play, boys. This is Tennessee. Oh man, it's a disaster, and the AD should be fired. That's a joke. Like, you publicly outed your program as a complete joke. Like, even Dave Brandon didn't publicly out the program as a joke.
Well, he also never reneged on an offer. He didn't do that.
You wouldn't know from the outside that the program was in shambles, is what I'm saying. He never offered you that piece of information openly. We all guessed. We all kind of knew.
I don't think U of M was ever in the shape that Tennessee's in right now. I don't think that ever got to that point.
It's just because it hasn't been for as long.
Well, but I also think
because it's basically been since Peyton Manning.
Even with the stuff with Butch Jones, like I said, I mean the reason that he got canned was twofold. Yes, the performance on the field wasn't good enough, but he had created there had been a culture there. I mean, it's not like it was Baylor or something, but he had created a culture there that there were a lot of questions about some of the things that were going on ethically, more so about him than the players. And so, it's just, you can't have that kind of stuff manifesting itself in your program if you want to stay, I shouldn't say want to stay clean. That kind of goes without saying. It just, It's just not good. It's just they're in a bad place. And I don't blame any decent football coach for not wanting to have anything to do with that job.
Oh, Brady will clean it up.
Just don't put in the guy with the concussion, Brady, and you'll be all right. You'll be all right.
I mean, Butch Jones never got majorly busted. At least not at Tennessee yet. I mean, who knows? It might have been right around the pipeline. And maybe that was, I mean, I would have fired him just based on his performance, but, maybe that was part of it.
They're going to, they've already lost multiple pretty big time recruits that were going to be in next year's recruiting class. Guys have already left. I wouldn't be surprised for them to lose more, and I would not be at all surprised to see some of their I wouldn't necessarily say the absolute stars, but some of their higher end talent that's already been on the roster, guys that are sophomores or juniors. I would not be at all surprised to see some of those guys transfer out and go somewhere else. Because if you're a kid that's looking out for your own well-being, and let's be fair, yes, there is a team atmosphere or a team aspect to think about with any sport, but they're also individuals, and they also got to look out for themselves to a certain degree, right? That's just being smart. Why would you want to, if you have an opportunity to get out, why would you want to stay in a place where you legitimately have no idea what's going on right now? Zero. There's no stability. That's just not a place you want to be in when you're trying to nurture yourself and you're trying to get yourself, obviously for the higher end kids, you're trying to get yourself into a spot where you're going to compete for an NFL job. You want to put yourself in the best position, and staying at a university where you have no idea what the play on field is going to be like. You don't know who's going to be there. You don't know what the coach is going to be like. Everything about it screams no. You got to get out. You have to.
Just go play for Dabo or Jimbo.
Well, some of them will be able to, some of them won't. but hey, I'll tell you what, man. If you got a chance to, all kidding aside, you got a chance to go to one of those programs, even if you're not necessarily going to start right away or something, but you're going to get yourself into the rotation. I mean, I'd go do it. Hell, man, get yourself in a program that actually knows what it's doing. Tennessee is not that program right now.
We got to terminate this podcast.
I'll tell you what, though, that the coaching carousel so far in the college football landscape has been fascinating. To me, so far for me, best hire is Florida. Best hire.
We've said that before.
Well, it legitimately is. It's the best hire. That's, again, we don't know. There's still obviously still a number of schools without head coaches yet, but that's right now the best hire so far. And I mean, I think they had a home run coming off of what they got with Jim McElwain, which was, I think they kind of looked at him as almost like a Brady Hope type of guy who was going to be able to stabilize.
Yeah.
And maybe in essence, maybe he was, but it didn't turn out that way. Dan Mullins has done a great job at Mississippi State. I think he's doing a great job in Florida. It's a very good, very innovative mind. I will say this too: the big name right now for
music is perfect
for Mississippi State to replace Dan Mullins. The big name as of I think this evening, is Joe Moorhead, the offensive coordinator for Penn State, which would be a nice move for him, obviously. And he really turned around that offense for Penn State. So
get an SEC job.
I'll tell you what, could be nice. Maybe.
By the way, Brett Bielema, hope you enjoyed your stay in the SEC.
You know, it's funny you just mentioned him because I was literally just going to say, of the coaches left on the market, maybe, just maybe, that's a guy Tennessee should look at. I know he didn't do great at Arkansas, but
he might be the only one that wants the job.
He might take it.
Anyway, we got to terminate this podcast. We'll have Jeff on Thursday. And again, my olive branch to Ben Zalagi. Come on the show. Talk Michigan football. I'll come on your shows. Doesn't matter.
Don't come on the show. It's too hot in here, man.
It is kind of hot. There's only the two of us.
No, it's actually not so bad tonight because there's only two of us.
I know. Bristol's not in here either. Anyway.
No, it's not.
You've been listening to Out of Bounds Detroit Sports. For David Faze, I'm Dan Griffin. And until Thursday, we're out of here.